Alright, listen up, gamers and fantasy junkies. Strap yourselves in for a freaking wild ride in the world of VRMO. Picture this, you wake up one day and bam, you're a freaking goblin. Behold the ***** cup, because this ain't your typical sob story. Our dude here gets a second shot at life thanks to the goblin goddess, who blesses him with some badass skills. With powers that make even the toughest demons crap their pants, he's on a mission to show the world what a real goblin can do. From kicking demon ass to taking on the big shots like the demon lord and hero, this is one hell of a redemption story, my dudes. So grab your snacks, buckle up, and let's dive in. The story starts with a boy waking up unsure of his location and puzzled about why he's in the middle of nowhere. When he checks the mirror, he's startled by his reflection, noticing something odd on his face. Suddenly, a message appears, revealing he's a goblin with a level 1 status and unmeasured skills. He questions if he's been reincarnated as a goblin, recalling his obsession with a popular game, Fantasy Frontier, where he'd play all day. The previous night, he fell asleep pondering killing goblins in the game, and now he's awoken as one. Despite the system's claim, he looks completely human. As his memories merge with his new goblin body, his sister enters, greeting him and urging him to prepare for the day. They walk together, with his sister mentioning she's packed his lunch, which he eagerly anticipates. He recognizes the landscape as the world from Fantasy Frontier and realizes he's living with his little sister, Lily, after their parents' deaths. They're heading to their employer's mansion, where they're treated poorly like slaves. The boy then assures his sister that he will always be there to protect her, and soon, it is revealed that Lily is blind. The boy immediately wonders if he has truly assured Lily that he will protect her, but the fact is that he has reincarnated as the weakest race. Moreover, he wishes to live in this world, but he has no idea what he will do. Soon they reach the demon continent, specifically the evil merchant's mansion. The boy then drops his sister and works as a laborer in the mansion. There, the merchant tells the boy that he will have to move the dark ore, which the boy obeys. Later, he is seen trying to move the black ore, but cannot do so. Later, some boys pick on him because he seems weak. Soon, one of the boys mentions to another boy named Butch that he heard Butch pass the entrance exam to the magician school. Butch confirms that he indeed passed and explains that he had to work hard to get in. Butch then starts insulting and picking on the boy as well, who then understands why he is being picked on, as goblins are the lowest race after all. Moreover, according to the map inside the mansion, the boy discovers that it is the year 125 of the Demon Continent calendar, and it is the same time as the intro to the game, so he thinks that his knowledge will be handy. Shortly after, a special knight from FF, Holy Knight's armor, arrives from the sky, emerging from a bright light. Panic starts to occur, and it is announced that the hero's army is attacking them. Chaos ensues, and everyone seems to be running to save their lives. Even the mansion is emptied, and soon the boy runs to his sister to ensure she is safe. Upon reaching her, he assures her that she will be safe when suddenly, the hero's army arrives in the mansion along with their leader. The leader catches sight of the two siblings and ominously predicts their demise. Without hesitation, the boy swiftly nudges his sister aside, urging her to flee as far as she can. Meanwhile, he steels himself to confront the advancing hero's army. Yet fate takes a cruel turn, and he meets his end again in this freshly reincarnated life. Observing this unexpected twist, the angel is taken aback by the boy's swift demise and decides to grant him all her powers. She hopes this infusion of strength will alter his destiny. With renewed determination, the boy is reborn once again. The system alerts him that his powers have reached their zenith, and he will gradually master them over time. Meanwhile, as the leader plots to end his sister's life, the boy returns to the fray, effortlessly dispatching every member of the hero's army. As the leader demands the boy's identity, he simply confesses to being a lowly goblin. Later, the merchant delivers surprising news. The hero's army has been defeated. The civilians, bewildered by the revelation that all the knights perished, find solace in the newfound peace. Meanwhile, the boy and his sister find respite on the pavement. Suddenly, the system presents a level 1 reawakening quest, expanding the boy's arsenal of dark magic. With matters settled, Butch strides onto the scene, claiming credit for defeating the hero's army, craving recognition from the crowd. To everyone's surprise, they buy into Butch's charade. The boy, unimpressed, challenges Butch to a duel, promising to expose his deceit. Underestimating the boy, Butch agrees. Employing his level 35 evil eye, the boy ensnares Butch in hallucinations, forcing him to admit his falsehoods, confessing he hid in a warehouse during the hero's assault. Speculation arises that the boy may be the true hero, yet he denies the notion. Reflecting on his journey from a feeble goblin to a bearer of unimaginable power, he resolves to wield his abilities to become the world's savior. The boy stands by Lily, contemplating her blindness since birth, and considers how much better it would be if he could treat her with high-level abnormal healing magic. Shortly after, he decides to act on his thoughts and successfully cures Lily's blindness. As Lily expresses her surprise at being able to see, the boy explains to her that he can now use dark magic due to certain events. However, Lily is unconvinced by this explanation, prompting the boy to clarify that he has awakened his latent potential. This leads Lily to question the validity of his claim. With a smile, the boy reassures Lily that he's happy her blindness is cured. Moved to tears, Lily realizes how amazing her brother is and hugs him. The system then notifies the boy that his reincarnation has completed the quest of awakening level 2. Furthermore, the range of required dark magic skills has been extended again, and a seed package has been deployed. Suddenly, a goblin fairy emerges and informs the boy that she's there to escort him to the hidden village of the goblins. She expresses hopes of getting along with him. Meanwhile, the boy ponders the nature of the hidden village of the goblins. They find themselves in the demon continent backwoods. The boy realizes that Fantasy Frontier truly boasts an open world where anything can happen, with game systems that could be considered the best of their kind. The highly advanced AI engine allows for incredible freedom in race development. They soon arrive at the hidden village of the goblins in the demon continent. The boy mentions how, despite his extensive game knowledge, he had no idea such a settlement existed. The fairy explains that the hidden village of the goblins is always concealed by magic. She then points in a direction and informs the boy that she will take him to the village chief. As they start their journey, Lily gets surrounded by children who find her pretty and request her to play with them. Meanwhile, the fairy notices the boy's concern for his sister and assures him everything will be fine once he meets the village chief. Relieved, the boy asks Lily to play with the children while he's away. Excitedly, Lily agrees. The fairy escorts the boy to the village chief, where he takes a seat beside him. The village chief reveals that the goddess prophesied the arrival of a boy led by a fairy, which has now come true. He explains that they must entrust their hidden treasure to him. The village chief then asks the boy to wait there and assures him he will return shortly. Meanwhile, the villagers believe the prophecy has been fulfilled and all bow down, pleading for the boy to save them and their village. The boy reflects on how goblins are the weakest creatures initially but become troublesome in large groups, with some strong, higher-ranking species among them, as well as high reproductive abilities. The boy ponders whether the goblins are facing extinction despite his newfound powers. He heads outside, sitting on a stone, contemplating his next move. His main goal is to test the powers he's been given. Checking his abilities on the screen, he finds many still locked, indicated by their grayed-out status. He realizes they likely follow a skill tree structure. Aside from magic, his stats impress him. Feeling prepared, he decides to test his strength first. Spotting a large rock, he punches it with force, unintentionally activating his level 10 flare bomb. The explosion sends Lily flying from the sound waves. Surprised but gaining confidence, he acknowledges his growing understanding. He notes the wide range of magic at his disposal and feels it should suffice. He only needs to finalize his plans, guided by a location marked on a scroll given to him by the village elder. Lily, her brother, and the fairy then proceed towards a colossal gravestone situated in the center, revealing itself as the demon continent hidden village of goblins' secret cemetery. The fairy explains to the boy that this is where the ancestral heroes of the goblin tribe are laid to rest. Understanding his purpose, the boy decides to invoke the most crucial dark magic spell he has learned thus far. The skill, known as Summon Goblin, has reached level 99 for the boy. He proceeds to use the skill, summoning several goblins, including Hobgoblin, Godragon, a goblin girl, and even a goblin general. Witnessing the spectacle unfold, the boy realizes the significance of the moment. He recounts that throughout thousands of years of history, even the weakest and lowest of goblins rarely gave birth to a goblin with mutations possessing powers and special abilities of the strongest class. These heroic spirits only existed in the past, and now the boy can summon all of their memories here. The goblin general kneels before the boy, seeking his orders. Meanwhile, the boy contemplates that with these newfound powers, he will bring an end to the war between the hero's army and the demon lord's army. Moreover, he has resolved to become the Goblin Messiah. The boy finds himself thrown into a void awakening in the sky, disoriented by his surroundings. The goddess then reveals herself to him, rousing him from his sleep. Introducing herself as the goddess of goblins in response to the boy's inquiry, he is taken aback by the notion of a powerful deity associated with such a lowly race. To him, the goddess appears merely as an attractive older woman rather than the divine figure she claims to be. The goddess seems to perceive the boy's thoughts and questions whether he harbors inappropriate intentions, to which he denies. She proceeds to explain that she bestowed him with omnipotence because countless goblins have suffered cruel deaths across numerous playthroughs, relegated to the status of mere low-level life forms. Despite being deemed the weakest, they possess an inherent strength, a concept the boy finds perplexing. He struggles to comprehend how weakness equates to strength. Through inheritance reincarnation, the boy inherits the knowledge and darkness of the goddess' fallen brethren. He grasps the idea that when millions of the weakest unite, they form an entity of unmatched power. Entrusting the future of the dwindling goblin tribe to the boy, the goddess reveals that his sister isn't the sole individual he can save. She implores him to rescue the tribe from extinction, placing her hopes in his hands. The boy is immediately sent back to the reincarnated world, where he wakes up pondering the goddess's words about the tribe's future. He realizes his mission to create a world free from oppression. In the next scene, he is depicted writing a letter, and upon finishing, he appears satisfied with its content. It turns out to be an application for the Academy of Dark Magic entrance exam. The fairy questions whether he believes it will work, to which the boy reassures her to leave everything to him. He explains his plans for the future, aspiring to create a world where his sister and everyone from the hidden village of goblins can live peacefully and happily without facing constant problems. His first target is one of the demon lord's army's 7 greats, the cruel king Duel, who rules over the region. Moreover, the Academy of Dark Magic serves as a training ground for army recruits in his domain, founded by Duel himself. The boy believes that by entering the school and becoming a cadet, he'll have the chance for an official audience with the founder, providing the opportunity to strike Duel down. He asks Lily once again to wait for him in the hidden village of goblins until he executes his plans and returns. Turning to the fairy, he informs her that he will take the entrance exam from here on and inquires about her plans. She replies that her work is already done, but finds the boy's plans interesting and decides to accompany him. In the demon continent within Cruel King Duel's domain, Castle Town, the boy realizes the Academy of Dark Magic should be nearby. He witnesses a man mistreating a girl inappropriately and beating her for being late for a deal. Recognizing the man as Bradley, the slave merchant, the boy recalls his despicable actions in the setting of Fantasy Frontier, where Bradley, a lower-ranking demon aristocrat, amassed wealth from trading slaves, resorting to crimes and intimidation without hesitation. Furthermore, the boy never anticipated that his obsession with character art books would prove useful in his reincarnated life. He realizes it's the perfect opportunity to test his new heroic spirit companions. He informs the fairy that they're going to assist the goblin slave girl, prompting her immediate agreement as she anticipates his decision. The boy proceeds to summon the heroic goblin, reciting the mantra, "I am beyond the path of light, thou liest within the deepest depths of darkness. By this revelation, I guide thee hither to demonstrate your power. Come forth, goblin girl." In no time, the goblin girl appears and offers her assistance to the boy, assuring him that she'll do whatever he asks. The fairy observes the goblin girl's carefree attitude. The boy explains his sudden request to the goblin girl. Meanwhile, Bradley continues to mistreat the goblin slave girl in front of a crowd. Irritated by her, he comments on her cheapness and annoyance. The boy arrives and captures Bradley's attention. Bradley questions the boy's intentions, and the boy politely requests him to stop hitting the girl. Bradley reveals her as his slave, claiming the right to treat her as he pleases. The boy questions Bradley about the cost, to which Bradley responds that it doesn't matter. Determined, the boy offers to buy the slave girl from Bradley for 100 times the original price. Bradley is taken aback by the extraordinary offer, unable to conceal his surprise at the thought of someone paying such a high price for what he deems a useless slave. The boy tells Bradley that he will buy his slave for 100 times the original price. Bradley then explains that the slave may have been cheap, but it still cost him 30 gold coins, and he confirms with the boy whether he is willing to pay 100 times that. The boy confirms and mentions that he has already prepared the funds and asks the goblin girl to fetch them. The goblin girl then goes on to place several sacks full of gold coins, totaling 3,000 gold coins. Bradley then once again asks the boy if he is sure about what he is doing, and he assures Bradley that all these 3,000 gold coins are his now. Bradley then tells the boy that he is not going to give him his gold coins back even if he changes his mind, and the boy has no issues with that. Bradley leaves the slave girl and runs off with 3,000 gold coins. The slave girl then asks the boy why he did that, leading him to reveal that he is just a goblin like her. However, the slave girl reiterates her question and asks why he spent so much just to buy her. In response, the boy asks the slave girl not to worry about it and explains that the gold coins weren't his. Bradley, the slave merchant, always keeps a large stash of gold coins in a safe inside his wagon for making transactions, and the boy knew it thanks to his game knowledge. Moreover, the goblin girl, the heroic spirit the boy summoned, has the skills of stealth and penetration, and so he had her sneak into Bradley's wagon just before he started talking to him. He asked the goblin girl to steal the gold coins from Bradley's safe, stuff them into bags, and then return them to him. Since that gold was made using criminal activities, the boy believes that no one would blame them for it. But most of all, the boy's mindset speaks that slavery should not exist at all in this world. The boy then reaches his hand to the slave girl to give her support and asks her if she can stand. The girl gains the boy's trust, and she even goes on to hold his hand and thank him as well. The boy then asks the fairy to guide the slave girl to the hidden village of the goblins. Furthermore, he conveys that he's going to take the Academy of Dark Magic's entrance exam. The boy reaches the academy place, looks at the building, and wonders if he can stand at the top of that tower one day. He has reached the demon Continent Cruel King Duel's domain Academy of Dark Magic, main gate. This school is always accepting new students to train more elites. However, one's abilities must be of exceptional genius to enroll, and by that same coin, even a low-level monster can enroll if they possess the necessary ability. The boy realizes that if he can become an elite cadet here, he can meet with the Academy's founder, the Cruel King Duel, and that is where he plans to take down one of the Great Seven. Shortly after, the examiner asks all the applicants for the entrance exam to line up somewhere, and in no time, a long queue is made, and the boy seems to be standing at the last stop. While waiting for his turn in the long queue, girl approaches the boy and asks him if he has something to eat, and mentions that even something sweet would be better. The boy begins to think if he has something and asks the girl to wait for him to check if he has something sweet. He goes on to take out a small bag from his pockets, which happens to be full of chocolates. There, he also opens a piece of paper where Lily has mentioned that she prepared this bag of chocolate for her brother. The girl sees that the boy does have some sweets, for which she thanks him and goes on to grab the bag from his hands, opens it up, and starts eating the chocolate from it, which she finds very delicious. Although the girl is happy with what she got, at the same time, the same cannot be said for the boy, as he is shown mourning over his lost chocolates, which he didn't even intend to give her in the first place. The girl then shows her gratitude towards the boy and thanks him once again. She soon reveals that she gets really hungry all of a sudden when she gets stressed out, which gives her an inner darkness deficiency. However, her condition becomes normal once she eats something sweet, and during this time while she is explaining, she notices that the boy has grown significantly infuriated. In a menacing tone, he tells the girl that she just ate Lily's handmade chocolates. Meanwhile, the girl is confused and asks the boy if she did something wrong. She immediately goes on to apologize, mentioning that she had no idea that it was something precious to him. Meanwhile, the boy thinks that it is not that it was precious per se, but his sister put a lot of effort into making it for him, and it probably took quite a lot of time as well by the looks of it. Moreover, the boy believes that his sister will probably ask him what he thinks about the chocolates that she made for him, so now he is wondering what he will say to her when she asks him this. The boy thinks about how his sister has started feeling better recently, which is a good thing, but he worries that even something small like this could make her go right back to her previous days. The girl then tells the boy that as an apology, she will be sure to return the favor. She then introduces herself as Letty and asks the boy his name. The boy thinks about it for a second and tells Letty that he doesn't have a name. It turns out that he doesn't remember his name, and the ones who don't have a name are usually slaves, so he believes that Letty would probably look down on him. Soon, Letty decides to give him a name and chooses Lime as a name for him since he is all greenish. Shortly after, it was announced that the entrance exam would begin shortly, and all the examinees were asked to gather at the central plaza. Letty then tells Lime that they will try to do their best and will make sure that they pass the test. Meanwhile, Butch is there as well, along with a friend of his, and he sees Lime wondering what he is doing there. At the Academy of Dark Magic, Central Plaza, all the examinees are gathered and the exam is going to full effect. The examiner asks for the next examinee to come forward and then the next. This next examinee turns out to be Letty, who impresses everyone with her magic skills. However, this comes as no surprise since Letty is well known for being an excellent magician. The other examinees realize that Letty is the rumored princess of the evil elves tribe. This comes as a piece of news for Lime since he didn't know he had come across a princess already on his journey to become the savior of this reincarnated world. Lime wonders if he should change his attitude towards Letty, now that he knows that she is a princess and not some ordinary girl. After being done with her test, Letty goes over to Lime and asks him how she did. Lime tells Letty that she did well and believes that with such a good performance, she will be able to pass the test easily. All of a sudden, Hage from the vampire race arrives there and starts picking up on Lime for being incompetent. Hage tells Lime that he is just a servant from Butch's palace, so he asks the reason for being in such a place. Hage then adds and asks Lime if he is there to take the entrance examination as well. Without letting Lime say a word, Letty interferes and tells Hage that there's nothing wrong with Lime taking the entrance examination. This leads Lime to realize that Letty has just voluntarily started representing him. Letty adds and tells Hage that Lime is way better than someone as rude as Hage. Moreover, Lime is wondering where all this confidence came from in Letty, as it is completely baseless. Hage then tells Lime that he can bark all he wants, but his true form will come out soon. Letty then turns to Lime and tells him that he must do something awesome now that she has vouched for him, leading Lime to wonder what he is supposed to do. However, he decides to do his best and see where things go from there. Letty tells Lime that he must do it diligently and reveals that she is rooting for him. But Lime believes that if he does it diligently, then the entire plaza will be blown into bits. Up until this point, Lime has only thought of bringing out the power given by the goblin goddess, but this time he decides to just think of it as a practice for controlling his power. The examiner then calls for Lime and asks him to showcase his powers and convince them to pass him in the entrance examination. Lime closes his eyes to focus better and points just one of his fingers to showcase his powers, but even that turns out to be a lot for just a small attack. The display of power is so terrifying that everyone could feel the wrath of Lime's powers. Even Letty finds it to be amazing and extremely impressive as well. Letty believes that Lime didn't disappoint her with her expectations of him. Meanwhile, Lime realizes that he made a mistake in controlling his powers, but he can just cover it up since it's a dark magic activation test. Lime then goes over to Letty and tells her that he managed to use high-level magic by fluke. Later, they have break time after finishing the written magic exam. Later, Letty seems worried, leaving Lime to ask her if there is something wrong. Letty reveals that she is just worried because there was a subject she was not good at on the written exam. Letty then asks Lime if his exam went well, and Lime confirms that it did. Moreover, Lime thinks that in Fantasy Frontier, the written exam was similar to solving quizzes related to the game, so he believes that he should be able to handle it without any issues. Shortly after, Hage approaches Lime and tells him that it was just a fluke of his what happened in the magic test earlier, so he reminds Lime not to get carried away. Hage believes that there is no way Lime can use magic, leading Lime to tell Hage that it is better if he starts worrying about himself instead of paying attention to him. Hage then tells Lime that he won't forgive him. Soon it is announced that the combat exam will begin, and all the examiners will be asked to make their way to the central plaza once again. Hage then tells Lime that he is lucky that they have to go for the combat exam now and that he had better remember this. Soon, the combat exam is about to begin, and the examiner seems to have a clipboard in his hands with the list of examiners and the details concerning the combat exams. However, the combat exam is considered to be different this time. Before, it used to be in the form of one-on-one mock battle between two examinees. However, from that day onwards, all examinees will need to battle and aim for one target. This leaves the examinees filled with utter confusion, and they seem to have no idea what the examiner meant by whatever he just said. Some of them even wonder what the meaning of what the examiner just said is and decide to ask the examiner. At the same time, Lime seems to have understood his assignment and realizes that he has to aim for just one target. Moreover, Lime also realizes that this is a new policy set by Lord Duel, the founder of the Dark Magic Academy. Lime believes that a student worthy of this academy must be able to survive in a fight against an even stronger opponent. Shortly after, Lime and Letty become alert when they see something emerging as their lone target. The floor begins shaking as the creature begins to walk in, and the roar can be heard all across the plaza. The footsteps from the creature make a thumping sound every time it takes a step, and the other examinees are left with their mouths wide open when they see a glimpse of the creature. The entire plaza gets filled with fear of this lone creature that is so difficult to defend that the exam's goal is for all the examinees to combine their forces and defeat this one creature. This creature turns out to be a thunder dragon, and seeing it arrive, Lime quickly realizes that this is the same area where the boss appears near the end of the game, Fantasy Frontier. Lime immediately gets in his alerted position. He looks over at the huge creature, the thunder dragon, and tells himself that this thing is their ultimate target to pass the combat exam. Lime wonders if they are making the examinees fight against such a strong opponent. In no time, the thunder dragon begins to create chaos among the examinees as they begin to run to save their lives from such a ferocious creature. The atmosphere gets filled with mayhem and despair, and everyone tries to find shelter to defend themselves from the heinous attacks of the thunder dragon. In no time, the thunder dragon manages to defeat a huge number of the examinees, and they seem to be knocked out. Meanwhile, Hage exclaims how he did not hear anything about facing such an atrocious being to pass his combat exam. While everyone is rushing here and there to save their lives, Letty goes toward the thunder dragon, stands in front of it, and decides to rush forward. Soon, Letty executes her plan, and while doing so, Lime sees her trying to be heroic and immediately calls out for her name to make her stop as he realizes the imminent danger the thunder dragon poses. Letty is pretty determined to pass this combat exam for the sake of everyone in this kingdom. She proceeds to use her skill of Wind Bind and Wind Arrow, and she manages to chain up the thunder dragon, but it manages to break out of it as if it is nothing. The thunder dragon then goes on to roar toward Letty, which makes her realize that she has messed up her plans to take down the thunder dragon. She thought she could handle it all on her own, but she seems to have underestimated the difficulty of the test they were given. Moreover, Letty is also aware of the fact that she is probably going to die now when suddenly she notices Lime coming for her aid. Lime proceeds to create a ring of shield, rendering the Thunder Dragon unable to attack them anymore. Moreover, Lime asks Letty if she's okay, and she replies while trembling that she is. Letty is unable to fathom the immense amount of power Lime possesses and is quite impressed by the fact that Lime came for her aid. Lime then asks Letty if she can wait for a bit and proceeds to deal with the Thunder Dragon, while mentioning that he will end this quickly. Letty is taken aback by the words of Lime as he says he will deal with it quickly, prompting that the Thunder Dragon is no match for him. The Thunder Dragon continues to throw its attacks toward Lime, but he is unable even to move a single hair as Lime's protective ring of shield is taking all the damage. The Thunder Dragon grows agitated with what is going on and begins to take things to the next level. The Thunder Dragon transforms into his advanced form, proceeds to become more ferocious looking, and a bright lightning bolt strikes its scales, resulting in it becoming even more powerful than it already was. The aura is all around the Thunder Dragon, and the aura is so immense that it can be sensed across the entire area. However, at the same time, Lime is standing there as if nothing can do something to him, and he is acting as if the Thunder Dragon is of no match to him. The Thunder Dragon proceeds to exert a blast force from his body, which lights up the entire area. Lime is swift to take action, and he quickly flies off with Letty in his arms. Soon after reaching a safe distance, Lime tells Letty that it is getting more dangerous now that the Thunder Dragon is in the super armor state. Meanwhile, Letty cannot fathom the fact that they are flying in the sky, and Lime is quick to apologize, mentioning that this might take quite some time. He asks Letty to wave the rooftop for him to get done with the Thunder Dragon. Lime then goes on to drop Letty from midair and deals with the Thunder Dragon. Meanwhile, Letty thinks that she is going to fall and die when, all of a sudden, a jelly-shaped cloud appears out of nowhere, and she lands on top of it. Turns out that Lime performed a heroic spirit summoning Melter Goblin Jelly. This goblin is the only amorphous type, and although it has a body that is non-conductive to electricity, it is weak against dry environments, and it went extinct when drought persisted in its habitat. Moreover, now Lime seems to have grown agitated by the fight, and he has decided to end this once and for all. Lime proceeds to use the dark magic, the Dark Boost, which is level 54, and asks the dragon if it is ready. Lime then proceeds to charge toward the Thunder Dragon with a purple aura and an immense energy supply surrounding him. Lime is all set to go all out on the Thunder Dragon, which has so far proven to be a worthy opponent of being fought with. The Thunder Dragon activates its powers as well and summons a lightning ray, which seems to be extremely powerful, so much so that it can perish whoever it comes in contact with. The ray of lightning seems to be targeted toward Lime, who is in mid-air and charging toward the Thunder Dragon with a full-fledged strategy. Lime goes on to dodge the ray of lightning and advances onto the dragon, attacking it with a punch packed with brute force and immense strength. This attack leads the Thunder Dragon to drag across the area and is sent far back. The Thunder Dragon then once again gets in its attacking position and has its eyes locked on Lime. Meanwhile, Lime warns the other to move out of the way and asks them all to go out if they don't want to lose the test. At the same time, Lime has eyes locked on the Thunder Dragon, and a purple aura surrounds him from every side. The Thunder Dragon proceeds to summon a thundercloud, and Lime quickly notices this and realizes that the Thunder Dragon is acting exactly as he had predicted it to. Meanwhile, Hage, afraid for his life and terrified of the Thunder Dragon, is lurking from behind a wall. Lime quickly goes to where he is, grabs his sword, and proceeds to make his way back to the battlefield while mentioning to Hage that he's going to borrow his sword for some time. Lime goes on to use the elemental coating of level 49. Lime goes on to point the sword at the sky, and the sky starts to turn purple. The clouds begin rumbling and unrest can be felt across the entire area. Lime then goes on to summon the Thunderbolt on his dark sword and proceeds to target the Thunderbolt toward the Thunder Dragon, rendering him dead. The impact of the lightning bolt was so immense that it created a huge crack in the ground, as if the area had received an earthquake. The system soon notifies Lime that the Reincarnator has completed the quest of Awakening Level 3. Moreover, the available range of acquired dark magic skills has been extended. Furthermore, the equipment for the demonic sword Mjolnir was acquired from the Thunder Dragon. Meanwhile, the Examiner is hiding behind one of the pillars, and he surveys the situation and sees that this is an exception, and that they should proceed with caution. He decides that he must report it to the Dean. Meanwhile, Hage and his companion are scared to death and quite astonished after seeing the tremendous display of power by Lime, something that they would never expect to see from someone whom they consider incompetent. Moreover, Letty is also left with her mouth wide open, and soon in a calm tone, Lime mentions that this concludes the test. Several hours later, Lime and Letty wait to find their names in the list of past examinees, and they soon see that examiner number 153, an unnamed individual of the goblin race, has passed the test. Moreover, examiner number 154, Tyre Letty Lauf, who is of the evil elf race, has also passed the test. Letty looks over at Lime and mentions that he was the one who contributed a big part of things, so it makes sense that he passed, but she cannot understand how she passed the test. However, Letty adds that she is not complaining or anything. In response, Lime mentions that maybe the examiners evaluated Letty based on how she faced the dragon without any hesitation. Furthermore, Lime asks Letty about her full name, Tyre Letty. Letty mentions that her full name is quite difficult to pronounce, so she sticks with just Letty. While Letty is talking about this stuff, she recalls that Lime is mentioned as an unnamed individual on the list, so she grabs a pen, marks a cut on the unnamed individual, and changes it into Lime. Letty finds this to be better and believes that Lime should follow this name from now on. Later, Lime and Letty are summoned to a room where they are given clothes for the academy, and immediately after wearing them, Letty feels that it has already become official for them. The helper then hands them over their grimoires and the robes. He further explains that they have a dormitory system at the academy. He then adds that he is going to have them take a placement test before they enter. Lime confirms if it is going to be another test, and the helper confirms this and adds that this test will determine their level of darkness, which then decides the class of dormitory they will enter. He then leaves to deal with his business and tells them that he is looking forward to seeing where both of their classes stand. Meanwhile, some students look over at Lime and Letty and realize that they are the ones who passed the new combat exam. Moreover, one of them mentioned that rumor says that this was the most difficult combat exam so far, and they found it not surprising at all since only 2 people had passed this test. However, they believe that it wasn't a big deal since they too passed. Letty overhears this, and it seems to have gotten her angry, leading her to exclaim at them and ask how they dared to say such words. However, Lime quickly interferes to calm Letty down and tells her that now is not the time for them to act impulsively, so Letty decides to listen to Lime. Lime then questions the helper about the placement exam and what it is about. In response, the examiner explains that it's quite simple and adds that they just have to stand in front of this magical construct, and it will analyze their darkness levels. He adds that if they touch the screen, their results will then be displayed right on the screen. He explains that they have incidentally just received this tool from their magnificent school. He believes that it is a freshly made, state-of-the-art instrument and finds it to be very beautiful. So he explains that there is no way to cheat the results. Moreover, he decides to begin with Letty, who then proceeds to touch the screen with her hand. Soon, the helper sees the result of her darkness and is astonished by it. The helper is astonished to see the results. The results show that Letty is of the race goblin. She possesses the knowledge of 9,600, power at 3,300, dark aptitude at 32,000, and inner darkness at 200,800. Lime sees that the result screen is similar to a status window. Moreover, Lime notices that Letty's darkness is considerably high. He also sees that Letty has a lot of potential, and that he is sure that she will end up becoming a reliable fighter once she's trained up. Soon, the system selects a class for Letty, and she ends up being selected to go for the Lucifer dorm, which is the highest level of dormitories. The students see that, and it comes as no surprise to them as they are aware that Letty is one of the rare evil elves after all. They also realize that this sort of test will always be in her favor. The man then asks Lime to come forward as it is his turn to measure his darkness now. The man mentions that they are the rules, so he will proceed to measure anyway, but he believes that the results are already clear since Lime is a goblin. Meanwhile, Lime recalls how he already knows his stats from his last awakening, but he is still curious to find out how much they have grown since then. So Lime decides to put all his darkness in. With the purple aura surrounding Lime, he places his hands on the screen, prompting it to shatter completely, leading to an impactful blast that is felt across the room. Immediately after the destruction of the screen, the man grows disheartened, and at the same time, Lime realizes that he has messed up. The man screams for his measuring device, mentioning that it costs him 500 gold coins. Lime comments that it might be possible for there to be a fault in the machine. However, the man mentions that it cannot be possible since it was a brand new state-of-the-art instrument that he recently bought. The man then grows worried, questioning what he's going to tell the dean now. Soon, Lime apologizes and begins to mention that he did not want to break the machine at all. However, the man interrupts Lime in the middle and reveals to him his result, sending him to the lowest dorm since he broke the machine and her stats could not be measured. This revelation shocks even Letty along with Lime, who immediately realizes that this is not good for his strategy. Lime is aware that if he is sent to the lowest class dorm, then he will have a bad start on his path of becoming a cadet. Lime realizes that he has to figure out some other shortcut to continue with his plans, or else this could end up putting Lime in trouble. Later, at the Academy of Dark Magic's student dormitory, the lowest rank's seer dorm, Lime is sitting on his bed with his head down. Lime then thinks about how his current objective is to be chosen as an elite cadet. He's aware if he can get chosen, then he will be able to have an audience with the cruel King Dial, so Lime decides that he will deal with him first and seize control of the dual domain for himself. But being in the lowest ranked dorm as he is now, that option is looking grim for Lime. Lime then begins to wonder about the quickest way to have the school recognize his abilities. One thing he thinks of is that he can talk to Letty about transferring since she was put into a higher class Lucifer dorm. And while he is thinking all this, Lime looks at the grimoire where he sees a piece of paper, and on that piece of paper is the form to be filled for the magic tournament. Lime goes over to the receptionist to get himself registered in the magic tournament, and the receptionist asks Lime if he is sure of what he is doing. The magic tournament is sponsored by the Academy of Dark Magic. It is a competition which is held by the Academy once a year to decide the school's strongest mage. Moreover, it is a long-standing tradition that only the most skilled students should enter the competition, and the victor will be bestowed with a magical treasure as a commemoration from the school's founder, Diul. In other words, even if Lime doesn't become a cadet, it is still possible for him to have an audience with Diul simply by winning this tournament. The receptionist asks Lime if this is only his second day at the academy, and Lime confirms that it is. The receptionist then reminds Lime that this is a dangerous competition with no restrictions on the use of magic, and asks him if he understands. Moreover, the receptionist explains that it is recommended for students to have been enrolled for at least 1 year before participating in the magic tournament. In a determined fashion, Lime tells her that he understands and mentions that he still wishes to participate. The receptionist then asks for Lime to just wait for a moment, and she proceeds to make her way inside a room where she begins to tell the professor about this weird student who has arrived to enroll in the magic tournament. The professor realizes that it must be the student who broke the measuring device. The receptionist then asks the professor if she should turn him away. However, the professor asks her to permit him to participate in the magic tournament. The receptionist then makes her way out to Lime and explains to him that he has been accepted to partake in the magic tournament. However, she also mentions that as stated in the rules of the tournament, all the incidents that will occur will be Lime's responsibility. Lime agrees with this and assures the receptionist that he understands. Lime then realizes that he has found a shortcut to meeting the cruel King Diul. Over the Lucifer dorm in the Academy of Dark Magic, inside the girls-only building, Letty is shown to be taking a shower along with some other girls. While showering, Letty thinks about how she is happy she got to meet with Lime at the entrance exam and recalls how he even saved her life. Letty thinks of Lime as a prince, and every time she thinks of him, emotions begin to get high. Letty then thinks about how Lime tossed her right after saving her life. However, she quickly gets herself back together. Letty is wondering why every time she sees Lime, she feels that he is going to do great things and that she cannot take her eyes off of Lime, more like she cannot leave his side. All of a sudden, Letty feels like her heart has started beating fast. Meanwhile, at the Seer Dorm midnight in the Academy of Dark Magic, Lime appears to have his eyes closed and seems as if he is sleeping. Suddenly, he opens his eyes, begins to get up, and proceeds to summon the Goblin Girl, who arrives in no time. Lime then tells the Goblin Girl that he has a request for her and begins to tell her to use her penetration, but suddenly stops. Lime sees that the Goblin Girl is in a school uniform, and when Lime questions her about it, the Goblin Girl explains that she likes to be in character. Lime then goes on to finish his request from the Goblin Girl and tells her to use penetration to infiltrate the school's facilities and investigate each one of them. The Goblin Girl assures Lime to trust her with this and asks him to leave it to her. Lime then begins to wait for the other one, and in no time the fairy arrives as well. The fairy reveals to Lime that she left the slave girl in Lily's care, for which Lime thanks her. Lime then feels a bit hesitant to ask this of Fairy as she has just returned, but decides to ask her anyway to map out a full view of the school for him. When Fairy questions Lime about what he means to map out, Lime explains that he wants her to make a diagram of it. The fairy then tells Lime that she will map out for him in no time, adding and asking him what he will do with it. Lime explains that he will be heading there on a secret mission. It is midnight and the bright moon is lit up in the sky. Lime makes his way to the rooftop and thinks to himself that it is time for a stealth mission. Over at the Dean's Tower, Lime arrives and uses the dark material Camo, which is of level 45. Lime realizes that the level of concealment might not go completely undetected, but he is still sure that it just might help him enough to get through this secret mission. Lime then begins to peek from a window inside a room in which important personnel seem to be present. The school's Dean Wesker is also there. Moreover, there's also the Magic Tournament's Director of Operations, Melaine. Professor Eddie seems to be there as well, and he is the one who asked the receptionist to allow Lime to partake in the Magic Tournament. However, He seems to have some sort of plan in his mind regarding Lime. The last personnel present in the room is the student council's president, Gaia the Dragonian. Eddie begins the conversation and mentioning that Lime is a treat and emphasizes that they cannot predict what he is truly capable of. However, Eddie believes that Lime has no place within their school's noble culture and traditions. The dean questions if Lime is the one who defeated the Thunder Dragon that they released to fail all the examinees. Milane confirms that Lime is indeed the person who defeated the Thunder Dragon and adds that it was supposed to be a measure to preserve their reputation as a prestigious school and believes that Lime made a real mess. Meanwhile, Wesker believes that Lime possesses extraordinary strength. Immediately, Eddie interferes and mentions that the students in their academy should not only possess strength, but must also be of a respectable demon tribe with grace and dignity. Eddie adds that if they allow rubbish like the goblin tribe, the lowest of the low, to steal that from less than, they would be unworthy to show their faces to their great founder, Duel. Wesker then confirms if they propose to expose Lime's true nature at the magic tournament, and Milane is the first one to confirm this. She further adds that the student in question entered on his own free will, knowing very well the threats and dangers it poses, so whether he lives or dies, it would be Lime's responsibility. Moreover, Milane believes this will work since the magic tournament always sees a handful of unforeseen incidents. At the same time, Wesker thinks how Milane and co. are as extreme as ever. Eddie explains that they are talking about the goblin race in this situation and believes that he should have never been given a chance to qualify for the entrance exam. Milane suggests that if they are getting individuals like this, it would be best to restrict them. She also adds that if no one is willing to take a stand and protect their school's reputation, then she will. Meanwhile, Lime overhears this entire conversation and thinks about how they say in their academy they have a fair chance for everyone to enroll and realizes that there is no point if the higher-ups are corrupt. Wesker thinks briefly, gets up from his chair, tells the others that he understands what they are to say, and asks them to do whatever they see fit because he will go to bed. This leads Eddie to let go of a sigh as he questions if Wesker even understood their point and hopes that he is not going senile soon. Eddie then calls out for Gaia and tells him that he is going to rig the tournament brackets so that Lime will face a student from Gaia's faction. So Eddie asks Gaia to cause an unforeseen incident at the magic tournament and explains to him that he will be the one to protect their school's dignity. Lime sees that Gaia is a Dragonian, however, he seems to be fine with it. Milane finds it ridiculous that the highest-ranking nobleman would go all out against a mere goblin. With a smirk on her face, she begins to feel good about herself and believes that Lime is no match for Gaia. Thereupon, Eddie reminds Milane that this is no laughing matter, and this comes out as a surprise for Lime. Later, Lime meets up with the goblin girl on the rooftop where she explains that there was also an entrance to a suspicious underground warehouse behind the backmost bookshelf in the Library of Great Magic. Soon, the fairy brings a bird-eye view of the map of the school and hands it over to Lime. Lime thanks the two for their great work and decides to call it a night. While leaving, Lime hears someone in the courtyard. He comes to a halt, looks to his back, and sees a young boy shadow training in the courtyard with a sword this late at night. Lime finds it to be very admirable of him to be training this late at night. The fairy then reveals that this young boy has been training the whole time she was mapping out the school. She further adds that the student is a kobold, which is another low-ranking tribe, and he happens to be in the same dorm as Lime. Lime sees his hard work and realizes that he should not write this place off too easily. After they are done with everything, Lime proceeds to make his way to his room where he finds a fairy on his bed. Lime questions Fairy as to why she is sleeping in his bed, and she immediately begins to start acting cute, mentioning to Lime that she is just a little super adorable fairy, and she believes that there is no way a fair maiden like her could sleep on a stool or the floor. The fairy then asks Lime if he would not sleep with her and mentions that she might seduce him, leading Lime to respond and mention that he will probably crush her if he rolls around in his sleep. So he decides to refuse Fairy's offer. Just to prove her point, Fairy transforms into a normal human size and asks Lime what he thinks of her offer now. This leads Lime to cry out for a break, and soon the fairy reveals that she is just joking. Moreover, the fairy realizes that Letty will probably give her a nasty lecture if she is to seduce Lime, and also realizes that Lily would be mad at her as well. The fairy then wishes Lime good night, transforms into her original form, and proceeds to sleep. Lime then decides to summarize the findings from his stealth mission before he goes to sleep. He thinks about how he is going to stay busy the day after. The very next morning at the Academy of Dark Magic in the dining hall, everyone seems to be having their meals, and so does Lime. Thereupon, Lime and Letty look at each other at the same time, and they both begin to wave their hand at each other. Lime realizes that it is not a good idea for him to sit at the same table as those girls from the highest-ranked dorm. Moreover, Lime is thinking about how there are 5 days left only for the magic tournament. Shortly after, a boy approaches Lime and asks him if he can sit next to him, leading Lime to allow him to sit. Lime immediately recalls that this is the same guy from last night who was practicing all alone in the courtyard in the middle of the night. The guy then tells Lime that he is from Seer Dorm and asks him if he is from the same dorm as well. Lime gets a bit excited and confirms that he is from Seer Dorm as well and mentions that he is looking forward to working with him. The guy then asks Lime if it is true that he applied for the magic tournament, and in response, Lime confirms this as well, mentioning that it is true. Surprisingly, the guy reveals that he applied for the magic tournament as well. While they are having this conversation, a bully approaches the two and begins to grab the guy's neck, while referring to him as Kobold. The guy asks Kobold, who told him that he is allowed to eat there, leading the guy to call out for Nero, the bully, and mentions that it doesn't matter where he eats. Nero adds and tells him that a low-rank monster like him is not allowed to sit there. Furthermore, Nero explains that the only time he is allowed to be over here is when he is delivering something on an errand and asks him if he understood. The guy denies and tells Nero that there is no such rule like this, and that is when Lime finally decides to interfere. He proceeds to grab Nero's hand, who is about to throw a punch at the guy. Nero looks over at Lime and asks him what his deal is. Lime reveals to Nero that he is a goblin, another low-ranking monster, and asks him if he is saying that he cannot be there either. Nero becomes surprised by hearing that Lime is a goblin and asks him if he is new around there. Shortly after, Nero's eyes start to get twitchy as he gets madder and madder by the time and tells Lime that just in time he is going to teach him the rules around here with his fists. Lime assesses what needs to be done and tells Nero that he is welcome to try whatever he wants and asks him to enlighten him with the power he possesses. Meanwhile, the guy believes that it is all because of him and that the situation has come this far because of him as well. Nero tells Lime that a newbie like him should learn to mind their damn business and goes on to strike a punch toward Lime, which he catches without even flinching or moving. This act of immense strength catches Nero by surprise, and soon Lime realizes that causing a commotion here at the dining hall would give him a bad impression with the other students. Lime is then seen holding the hand of Nero with a tightened grip and not letting go of it. Nero is trying his absolute best to free himself from Lime's grip, but is unable to do so, and Lime is not even moving an inch. Lime then goes on to apply pressure on his grip on Nero's hands and after a while lets it go, after hearing Nero scream for his life. Immediately after Lime releases Nero's hands, his fingerprints are shown to be engraved on Nero's hand. Nero is then shown to be holding his hand, which is in immense pain, and soon Lime refers to Nero as a regular and tells him that everyone's allowed to come and go to the cafeteria as they please and asks him if he gets what he means or not. Meanwhile, Nero has gotten angry to his core. He is unable to fathom the fact that he is getting humbled by a mere goblin. Steven Nero's friends tell him that Lime is that freshman from the rumors, the one who took down the Thunder Dragon with one strike. Nero then gets up, keeps his eyes locked on Lime, and while leaving, he tells Lime that he knows someone who can deal with him. The someone that Nero is talking about is actually the Dragonian faction called Breath the Flame, which is already keeping its eyes on Lime. Nero then wonders how long Lime will last. At the same time, the boy thanks Lime for such a heroic act and even apologizes to him for dragging him into his own mess. However, Lime quickly assures him that it's fine. The boy then once again tells Lime that he has actually taken part in the magic tournament as well. Moreover, the guy mentions that he wants to find out his strength and leave those guys dumbfounded, but he doesn't think that he stands a chance with them. He finds this to be laughable, and Lime is standing there all confused by what is going on, as he does not even know this guy that well, and yet he is having the friendliest of conversation with this guy. He then soon recalls introducing himself, and as he is about to introduce himself, Lime goes on to introduce himself first. The man then reveals that his name is Loot Arcadia. Immediately upon hearing Loot's name, Lime is left astonished, and surprisingly, he asks if he is that Loot. This leads Loot to question Lime if he has heard about him before, and Lime is immediately thrown into his memories where he recalls more information concerning Luke. Lime seems to be aware of the fact that Loot will hunt down the hero's forces at the very end in the future. Moreover, the man who would become the most powerful knight among the Order of the Dark Knights. Thereupon, Loot is shown standing there, all confident with a smile on his face. Later, at the Academy of Dark Magic, Seer Dorm, Loot takes a clue and understands that he should go for now, so he tells Lime that he will be taking his leave. However, while walking out, Lime immediately recalls something that he had to ask of Loot. Lime asks Loot if he can do midnight training sessions. Instead of answering, Loot is surprised to discover that Lime knows about his secret training sessions. Loot then tells Lime that he is always welcome and proposes that they both try their best. Loot then tells Lime that you will see him that night. Thereupon, Lime decides to come to the main subject. Lime says that if he recalls correctly, Loot's younger sister is in none of the Dark Church, within the territory of the demon god Shinel, one of the seven greats. Loot says that it is right and asks Lime how he heard about it. In response, Lime mentions that it is just a rumor he happened to hear. Lime then begins to warn Loot and tells them that shortly, his sister will go to a village bordering the human world for missionary work. So when that time comes, Lime asks Lute to tell his sister to come straight home. He adds that he should advise her to not stop and especially to not look back. Lime asks Lute to take this as a repayment for saving his life back at the dining hall. Lime then emphasizes to Lute that he must honor this favor and that he should try everything to see it happening. Towards the end, Lime asks Lute if he understands what he has to do, and in a trembling voice, Lute mentions that he has gotten it. Lime then finally decides to leave from there. As soon as Lime turns around to leave, Fairy emerges out of nowhere and tells Lime that she is aware that he is plotting something, and Lime even confirms that he is indeed plotting something, but it is not that big. Lime then thinks to himself that this should change Lute's fate now, as Lime seems to be aware of the fact that the death of Lute's sister causes him to fall to the dark side, which is considered to be the worst possible route for anyone. Lime then quickly thinks about the future of his strategy and thinks that the next step is to have Lute awaken while keeping his sister alive. Several days later, at midnight at the Academy of Dark Magic backyard, Lime is seen performing some sort of magic and soon decides that this should do it. Turns out that Lime is not alone, and tagging along with him is none other than Lute. They seem to have come here in the forest in the middle of the night to practice their skills. Thereupon, Lute happens to standing in a ready position, waiting to perform his first blow. He goes on to swing his sword toward the tree and manages to cut it in half quite efficiently with little to no effort. Immediately after being successful, Lute begins to grow happy with the results. He tells Lime that he cannot believe his swordsmanship is improving so easily, and Lime is quick to throw in some motivation and tells Lute that of course it is improving since he has been training hard to begin with. However, Lute believes that it is all thanks to the advice Lime gave him, and he also realizes that not only Lime's dark magic is at a very high level, but his swordsmanship is as well. This makes Lute wonder why Lime got put into the lower-ranked Seer dorm. Lime thanks Lute for his kind words and soon tells him that the next day the marks of the tournament will be revealed. This leads Lute to convey that this might be their last midnight training session together. Lime then gets a bit serious, and with a concerned tone, he tells Lute that he has been doing a great job so far. Lime adds that the hard work Lute is putting in is second to none, and he doesn't even break a sweat with his steady training. Lime believes that this is something worth appreciable, and this determination and the willpower to remain steadfast in their goals is not something that is possessed by everyone, but rather only a few have this sort of ability. Lime emphasizes to Lute that his positive mindset is his strongest weapon. However, he also mentions that while training with him over these past few days, Lime has realized something, that Lute still hasn't unlocked his maximum potential. Lime tells Lute that he has got to unlock his true potential. Listening to this, Lute is absolutely confused as he does not understand anything Lime is trying to convey to him. So Lute decides to question Lime as to what he means by true potential. Lime begins to explain and mentions that it is something that primarily manifests from experiencing something that shakes one to their very core, a pain that they would never want to feel ever again in their life. Lime does not want Lute to go through that. However, Lime also understands that without it, Lute will live all his life without unlocking his true potential, without ever knowing what he is actually capable of, how powerful he really is. These are all the things Lime wants Lute to find out, and Lime is a bit worried regarding such matters when it comes to Lute. However, Lute still doesn't seem to get a grasp of what Lime is trying to convey to him. Lime understands why he cannot understand, so he asks Lute if he can close his eyes for just a moment. Lute agrees, and Lime goes on to summon the dark magic and proceeds to use the sister analysis. Upon using it, Lime discovers that the darkness inside Lute throughout most of his body is in an inactive state. To give a better understanding, it is as if Lute is running at full speed with a giant iron weight chained to him. Discovering all this, Lime is quite impressed that Lute has managed to grow this much with a body like this and has managed to come this far even with such a huge disadvantage. Lime believes that Lute's powers should level up by a tremendous amount by simply resolving this stasis. Lime is aware that once he removes these shackles, Lute should be able to awaken on his own without anyone's help. And this could happen even without the tragedy that is bound to happen with Lute's sister. Lime then asks Lute not to move, and after a while when he is done, he tells Lute that he can move now. Lute tells Lime that it felt like something pierced right through his body just now. Lime then decides to call it and end the training session for that night. He further tells Lute that the next day will be a big day, and Lute agrees with Lime. The very next morning at the Academy of Dark Magic Colosseum is the Magic Tournament's opening ceremony, and everyone is gathered to witness that tremendous tournament where the best of the students showcase their true potential. The crowd is cheering for the participants, and among them are Lime and Lute standing there waiting for the tournament to begin. Shortly after, Gaia comes out as well, and the roar in the crowd gets even louder. Thereafter, Mylene comes out and announces that the day marks the beginning of the Magic Tournament, and the crowd begins to hoot once again, and every time is getting louder. The hype is real and the stage is set for the participants to reveal their true potential. Million tells the crowd to make sure that they do not miss a single moment of this glorious event. Moreover, a speech from the school's founder, Master Duel, shall be signed at the start of the tournament. Shortly after, Yule arrives and the immense aura coming out of him can be sensed across the field. This is the first time that Lime sights on Duel in person, and he soon realizes that this magic that Duel possesses looks similar to his summoned goblin, but it is a bit different. Lime realizes that it isn't teleportation magic either, but rather is a remote projection, like a hologram. Duel then addresses his bright students and tells them that they are the hopeful future of the Demon Lord's army. He then asks them to demonstrate the limits of the abilities they have honed thus far against their opponent in battle. Duel further mentions that there is but one rule: those without strength must yield of their own accord. With this, Yule concludes his speech and begins to leave while the entire crowd cheers for him. Meanwhile, we see that Letty seems to be a bit nervous. Simultaneously, Lime believes that the persecution and heavy taxes that Duel imposes are the reason why everyone in the hidden village is suffering, which is why Lime is quite determined to win this tournament and take Duel down. Thanks for hanging out with me on this wild ride, folks. If you dug the video, smash that like button and hit subscribe for more epic content. Share your thoughts in the comments below. I want to hear what you think. Until next time, stay epic, keep gaming, and remember, goblins rule. Catch you later.